False Dmitriy I, Russian, Tr. Lzhedmitrii I, historically known as Pseudo-Demetrius I, was the Tsar of Russia from the 21st of July 1605 until his death on the 17th of May 1606 under the name of Dimitrij Ioannovich. He is sometimes referred to under the title of Dmitry I. According to historian Chester L. Dunning, Dmitry I was the only Tsar ever raised to the throne by means of a military campaign and popular uprisings. He was one of impostors, samozvanets, who claimed during the time of troubles to be the youngest son of Ivan the Terrible, tsarevitch Dmitriy Ivanovich, who had supposedly escaped a 1591 assassination attempt. It is generally believed that the real Dmitry died in Uglich and that this false Dmitry's real name was Grigoriy Otrepyev, although this is far from certain. False Dmitry I entered history circa 1600, when he made an impression on Patriarch Job of Moscow with his learning and assurance. Tsar Boris Godunov, however, ordered him to be seized and examined, whereupon he fled to Prince Constantine Ostrogsky at Ostro, then in the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, and subsequently entered the service of another Polonized Ruthenian family, the Wisniewiczes. Princes Adam and Michał Wisniewicki found his story to be convincing, as to who he purported to be, and it gave them an opportunity to get involved in the political turmoil that was transpiring in Muscovy. There were vague rumors that Dmitry was an illegitimate son of the Polish king, Stefan Batory, who had reigned from 1575 to 1586. According to a later tale, Dmitry blurted out his identity when his master had slapped him in anger. Dmitry himself claimed that his mother, the widow of Tsar Ivan, had anticipated Boris Godunov's assassination attempt and had given him into the care of a doctor who hid with him in Russian monasteries. After the doctor died, he had fled to Poland where he worked as a teacher for a brief time before coming to the service of Wisniewicki. A number of people who had known Tsar Ivan later claimed that Dmitry did resemble the young tsarevitch. Dmitry displayed aristocratic skills like writing and literacy and spoke both Russian and Polish. Depictions of Dmitry usually show him as being clean-shaven with slicked hair, an unusual look for his era. Regardless of whether they believed the tale of Dmitry, Adam Wisniewicki, Roman Rosinski, Jan Sapa and several other Polish noblemen decided to support him against Tsar Boris Godunov. In March 1604, Dmitry visited the royal court of Sigismund III Vasa in Krakow. The king provisionally supported him, but did not promise any direct aid to help him on his way to the throne of Russia. To attract the support of powerful Jesuits, Dmitry publicly converted to Roman Catholicism on the 17th of April 1604 and convinced the papal nuncio Claudio Rangoni to back up his claim. At that time he also met Marina Niszcz, a Polish noblewoman, who was a daughter of Jerzy Niszcz. He asked for her hand and was promised it in return for giving to the Niszcz family the Russian towns of Pskov, Novgorod, Smolensk and Novosibirsk. When the Tsar Boris heard about the pretender, he claimed that the man was just a runaway monk called Grigoriy Otrepyev, born Yuri Otrepyev. Grigory was the name given at the monastery, although on what information he based this claim is unclear. Regardless, his support began to wane, especially when he tried to spread counter-rumors. Some of the Russian boyars also claimed to accept Dmitry's claim because it gave them legitimate reason not to pay taxes to Boris. Dmitry attracted a number of followers, formed a small army, and gained the support of Commonwealth magnates who gave him approximately 3,500 soldiers from their private armies. With them he rode to Russia in June 1604. Enemies of Boris, including the Southern Cossacks, joined his forces on his way to Moscow. Dmitry's forces fought 2 engagements with reluctant Russian soldiers. They won the first, capturing Chernigov, modern Chernihiv, Putyvl, Sevsk, and Kursk, but badly lost the second and nearly disintegrated. Dmitry's cause was only saved when the news of the sudden death of Tsar Boris, the 13th of April 1605, reached the troops. This removed the last barrier to the pretender's further progress. Russian troops began to defect to Dmitry's side, and on 1 June boyars in Moscow staged a palace coup. The boyars imprisoned the newly crowned Tsar, Fyodor II, and his mother and later killed them. On 20 June Dmitry made his triumphal entry into Moscow, and on 21 July he was crowned Tsar by a new patriarch of his own choosing, the Greek Patriarch Ignatius. At first the new Tsar tried to consolidate his power by visiting the tomb of Tsar Ivan the Terrible and the convent of his widow Maria Nagaya, who accepted him as her son. The Godunov family was executed, with the exception of Princess Ksenia Godunova, whom he took as his concubine for 5 months. In contrast, many of the noble families exiled by Godunov, such as the Shuiskys, Golitsins and Romanovs, were granted the pardon of Lzhedmitrii and allowed to return to Moscow. Filarid, Fyodor Romanov, he appointed as Metropolitan of Rostov. Patriarch Job of Moscow, who did not recognize him as the new Tsar, was sent to exile. Dmitry planned to introduce a series of political and economical reforms. He restored Jury's Day, the day when serfs were allowed to move to another lord, to ease the conditions of peasantry. In foreign policies, Dmitry sought for an alliance with the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth and with the Roman Pontiff. He planned a war against the Ottoman Empire and had ordered the mass production of firearms. In his correspondence, he referred to himself as the Emperor of Russia, a century before Tsar Peter I, though this title was not recognized at the time. On the 8th of May 1606, Dmitry married Marina Nisizich in Moscow. It was the usual practice that when a Russian Tsar married a woman of another faith, she would convert to Eastern Orthodox Christianity. It was rumored that Dmitry had obtained the support of Polish King Sigismund III Vasa and Pope Paul V by promising to reunite the Russian Orthodox Church and the Holy See. It was allegedly for this reason that Tsarina Marina did not convert to the Orthodox faith. This angered the Russian Orthodox Church, the boyars, and the population alike and increased the support of his enemies. The boyars, headed by Prince Vasily Shuisky, began to plot against him, accusing him of spreading Roman Catholicism, Lutheranism, and sodomy. They gained popular support, especially as Dmitry surrounded himself with foreigners and openly flouted Russian customs. According to Russian chronicler Avremy Palitsin, Dmitry further enraged many Muscovites by permitting his Catholic and Protestant soldiers, whom the Russian Church regarded as heretics, to pray inside of Orthodox churches. Prince Shuisky and his adherents spread word that Lzhedmitrii was about to order his Polish retainers to lock the city gates and massacre the people of Moscow. Whether such orders existed or not, Palitsin's chronicle believed them to be true. 4. In the morning of the 17th of May 1606, 10 days after his marriage to Tsarina Marina, a massive number of boyars and commoners stormed the Kremlin. Lzhedmitrii tried to flee through a window but broke his leg in the fall. One of the plotters shot him dead on the spot. The body was put on display and then cremated, the ashes reportedly shot from a cannon towards Poland. According to Palitsin, Lzhedmitrii's death was followed by a massacre of his supporters. Palitsin boasted in his chronicle that a great amount of heretical blood was spilled on the streets of Moscow. Dmitri's reign had lasted a mere 10 months. Prince Shuisky then took his place as Tsar Vasily IV of Russia. However, 2 further impostors later appeared, False Dmitry II and False Dmitry III. Both of them were accepted by Tsarina Marina as her fallen husband. Portrayals in literature. The False Dmitry is one of the primary characters in Alexander Pushkin's blank verse drama Boris Godunov. In Pushkin's drama, the character is a young novice monk who decides to impersonate the tsarevitch when he hears they would have been the same age had the child lived. Pushkin's decision to humanize the False Dmitry earned him the disapproval of Tsar Nicholas I of Russia, who then prevented the play from being published or staged. In an unpublished foreword, Pushkin wrote, "There is much of Henri IV in Dmitry. Like him he is brave, generous and boastful, like him indifferent to religion. Both abjure faith for a political cause, both love pleasures and war, both devote themselves to chimerical projects, both are victims of conspiracies. But Henri IV didn't have a Xenion on his conscience. It is true that this horrible accusation hasn't been proved and, as for me, I make a point of not believing it." 6. Pushkin intended to write further plays about the reigns of Dmitry and Vasily, as well as the subsequent time of troubles. Pushkin was prevented from fulfilling these plans by his death in a duel at the age of 37. Although based upon Pushkin's play, Modest Mussorgsky's opera of the same name overtly demonizes the False Dmitry, the Polish people, and the Roman Catholic Church. False Dmitriy's engagement to Marina Niszic is shown to have been instigated by a priest of the Society of Jesus. When Marina balks at seducing the pretender, the Jesuit threatens her with hellfire until she grovels at his feet. This is in marked contrast to Pushkin's belief that Tsarina Marina was motivated by a pathological ambition to rise to royalty. At the opera's denouement, the pretender's ascent to the throne is lamented by the holy fool Nikolai, who appears in Pushkin's play only to rebuke Tsar Boris for murdering the real Dmitri. In Mussorgsky's opera, though, the holy fool proclaims, "Weep, weep Orthodox soul," and predicts that the enemy will come, leading to darkness blacker than night. False Dmitri's story is also told by Schiller, in Demetrius, Sumarokov, Khomyakov, and by Antonin Dvorak in his opera Dmitrij. Rainer Maria Rilke recounts the overthrow of the false Dmitri in the notebooks of Malte Lawrence Bridge, Rilke's only longer prose work. Harold Lamb fictionalizes the demise of the false Dmitri in The Wolf Master, in which the claimant survives his assassination through trickery, and flees east, pursued by a Cossack he has betrayed.